Okay, back in lesson 2, I made a little bit of an error in our house, lesson 2, setting the roof pitch and overhangs from minutes 26 to 28. I didn't switch my screen, so what I'm going to attempt here today is I've rearranged things, so hopefully I will be less inclined to make that error. And what I'd like to do today is show an error that right when a video ended, I left it right at a wall corner that's not drawn correctly in the 3D space. And that's this wall corner here. This brick is real. And so it's not a veneer that's stuck as it's shown right there. And so we come back here, we're basically just gonna we're gonna show the change to correct the thickness shown. And I think that's the important part of what I want to show is that it's different. Everything's drawn correctly. It's not that. And then I'm going to go back and show that 2 minutes of video that I didn't switch screens on for you. So here is that corner, and as you can see the corner here, the brick comes out, so it's drawn correctly. But if you come up and you click on a tool that you can't see from here, so I'm going to switch screens to show you that tool. And that tool is this guy right here, this little arrow deal. And it is called Extend Wall Layer Intersections. Here is where you can like connect your walls together. And if I were to connect these two walls, it's not going to make that change that I'm looking for over here. So I'll show you that on both screens. So if I hit that connect wall key, which I did just a second ago, and I've got this one selected, and then I click this, and then I go back and look at my 3D, it didn't change it. But what will change it is the use of this guy. So I'm going to have that wall with the brick on it selected, and this button will be off screen, but that's what I'm going to use right there. Use this guy, and it is called, again, the Edit Wall Layer Intersections. So let's go to the other screen so you can watch it happen. So I'm going to select the wall that I want to mess with. Then I'm going to hit that tool, and you'll see all these dots appear. And they'll let you do different things like how you align the wood inside, and that's not going to affect us. It does affect you in certain things, but what's the problem here is this line needed to be all the way out to the end. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring it out just to this point right here and let go. And I'm going to leave it here for a moment so that you can watch what happens when I do that. And so I'm going to grab that point that I showed you, pull it out, let go, and boof, fix the brick. So it's those little controls in there. It's not that your wall's drawn wrong. It's those little controls in there that'll help with the way that you actually see what's shown. Now you'll notice my roof that we're messing with in 2, my fascias are working out. Isn't that cool? You want to know what I did? I just checked that my plate heights were correct, which they're not, but they're consistent. And getting them correct is what's going to fix this issue, I believe. So right now, I'm not sitting right on my plate where I need to be. But I probably need to get up there and get an actual measurement before I make those finite adjustments and get this to drop down. Because if I were to show you guys this, well, if you look at the lesson on AutoCAD, which I believe is lesson 3, you'll see how narrow this is, and that my gutter actually hangs down lower than the fascia. There's almost, I don't know, maybe 2 inches of fascia there. And so what I was doing on that other screen, can be done in 2D or 3D, but in lesson two, all I was doing was like grabbing a roof, pulling it back to get it to match, grabbing this one, pulling it back, and then you can hit the 2 key, or if you've followed my lesson on programming your space mouse, if you have one, then I believe my 2, and I'm getting a little my own stuff, is here. So that's the same as hitting 2 on your keyboard. Pick the other one, select it, and they'll join. And then when I rebuilt, it just all matched up. And it just had to do with going into my settings for, say, a wall. Over. And so if I go to my roof, I got my pitches, my overhangs, they're all 10 all the way around. I have confirmed that. And then in structure, we're fine there. But where I was having an issue is on this other side. And that all had to do with this guy. And to fix it, all I did was held the control key. I picked every space in this house. And sometimes they're hard to grab. These smaller spaces, you might grab something that's in that room, like here. It doesn't. Oh, it did. Here, I might have some real trouble. I got it. But if you can't get it, just zoom in. Keep holding your scroll wheel down. And then you can either hit the open key, which is the door, or on your programmable, just open it. And once it's open, it was here. And this rough ceiling, I got figured out through my AutoCAD by drawing the exact plate. I got the thickness of the floor by going downstairs in the basement to a place where I have a hole in the ceiling. And I got all this stuff. Now I know the attic. Now I know everything. And I set this height to be consistent because it wasn't the same all the way around. And then I rebuilt the roof. And that brought those gutters together that we saw in lesson 2 on this corner where it was messed up because this pitch is a 5.5 and this pitch is a 4. And that's true on this side. And I gotta admit that it's still not perfect because I'm like 6 inches too long up here now. And it's an old house. So one thing about that is if I go up there and I measure the ones that are here by my attic access, they are 16 on center, not 24 like you'd see on a newer construction, but 16. And they're also made out of 2x6s, which I live in an area where we're a mile high. That's our elevation. And it's a bit of snow. In fact, just 3 years ago, I believe, maybe 4, next town over, Anaconda, had a state of emergency to get equipment in to remove 5 feet of snow that occurred in, it could have been 24 hours, but I think it was 48. Nonetheless, it was a lot of snow. And that's not very far from me, so we got nearly as much. And I've got some great photographs of that with some cuts straight through it with my snowblower making these giant walls. So the mailman could deliver my mail. But nonetheless, when I get down to the end, I have a video that shows the possibility that either my last one is a few inches shy of the end, which I don't think it is, or these got spread out just slightly to make it happen. And it was built in 1950, so spreading them out wouldn't do good with your sheet goods. You wouldn't want to do that. But I'd have to actually get back there. And so to find out more on that and how this thing's actually being framed will be a little bit. But when I get back to this, right now I have vermiculite, and I'll show you that. So the whole process of ending up back in that corner was, this is light in the kitchen. The fixture was pretty big, so it was painted to the ceiling. When I tore it down, instead of having Romex up there, which the inspector said there was, I end up with this black stuff. And as soon as you touch it, try and unstrand it, try and wire anything to it, even removing the light itself, enough had broken back by the metal that it was scary that it was going to short. And by the time I bent it all out, I mean, stuff had just crumbled and fallen off it. And this is apparently, according to my electrician, the first version of Romex is what this stuff is. And then there's the switch that operates that light, obviously operating my flashlight once I killed the light. And then this is what it looks like now to keep the vermiculite from showing through. And so this is a crawlway I created to get over there. Bunch of blown in up here. And I live in Butte, Montana, where there is we have a Superfund site. And in this Superfund site, because of the open pit copper mine, there's a lot of dust that's collected in attics that is heavy metals, and it is causing cancer. So you can call up and they will come out, they will grab a sample. Now, after speaking to a friend of mine there, they grab samples from the top. And they don't want to dig all the way down into your insulation. And these are big, huge, massive lines going through there in that old stuff. Don't know what they feed. We'll find that out when we suck this insulation out, but interesting. But for those of you who do live here and want to get this done, they'll come in and they'll pull some of this out. And of course, they don't want to disturb your insulation more than they have to. So they may not dig down all the way, but then once I disturbed it from the bottom, well, I had to go up to the top, get box, get some Romex, and it's time to do a repair. And so old gas pipe laying here. Don't think that's operational, because I wouldn't know what it goes to if it does. There's just nothing on that side of the house. Yeah, but I think that's in lesson 3. This is that vermiculite, and in case you're unfamiliar with it, it's kind of a foam stuff, and there's a metallic texture to it, kind of a gold, almost pyrite looking. It really does look like pyrite material that's on top of that. And then here's a large sample can I got of it, so I could show them, yes, it's deep, and this is probably a 4-inch deep container. And so I took a pretty good sized sample. I was just going to hand it to them, but they have to come up and get their own. And so they dug down to the bottom, they brushed it into a little bag and took a sample bag. And this is the insulation that was on top of that, the blown in. So if you live in Butte and you wanted to know a little bit more about this process, this is a good video for you on what can happen. And just for those of you who have been tested, what I learned from this whole experience was that my insulation, they didn't necessarily know that there was vermiculite down there, because they had gone up into my attic access, and I think I might, no I don't, not in this set, but in another set. No, there's the attic. So they went up into that attic access and reached over, got a sample, and then came back down. All this area through here has been disturbed over the years. So it took going all the way over to the right, which is maybe here, to my kitchen light to find the vermiculite. And so if you've tested negative for these metals, and then you go up and you find that you have layers of insulation, such as in my house, you might call them back out. They did come back out. They got a new sample, because I told them I had found some new stuff. And they're plenty willing to do that. So great guys down at the Butte Health Department. And I don't know if I'm allowed to mention names, but first name's Chad. Great guy. But anyway, I have known him since he was a little kid. And now we're up to that point in life where he's kind of my age. And he used to be the little boy down the street. Anyway, that is what I've got for today. Know that we started off with some stuff that had to do with chief and ended up in a video about my hometown and what we're doing for remediation and we're living in a mining town. Anyway, have a good day, and hopefully that was informative. Thank you.